Have you ever experienced a subtle unease in your chest? A silent signal that something is fundamentally wrong, yet you couldn't quite identify it. It's as if your decisions weren't entirely your own, as though an unseen force was orchestrating your thoughts behind the scenes. Perhaps you've lingered in conversations you should have exited, consented to commitments that depleted your energy, or placed trust in smiles that eventually revealed themselves as facades. The Buddha once said, "What you think, you become. What you feel, you attract. What you imagine, you create." But what if your thoughts were never entirely yours to begin with? In this discussion, we'll explore the nuanced, often hidden realm of emotional manipulation, and how the clarity cultivated through Buddhist wisdom can empower you to regain control. Do you genuinely command your mind, or are you merely responding under the impression it's your own volition? Stay with me until the end, where I will share an exclusive insight that could transform the way you engage in every relationship. If you take away one principle from this conversation, let it be this: true freedom begins the moment you question the voice inside your head. Cultivate a resilient identity. Have you ever felt as though you were living someone else's narrative, where every decision, every emotion, and every ambition seemed dictated by external forces? That quiet inner voice that once guided you has been drowned out by the noise of others' opinions, guilt, or the fear of solitude. This is not mere confusion, it is self-abandonment, and this is where manipulation seeds itself, not through others' dominance, but through your own absence. As the Buddhist teaching goes, nothing can harm you as much as your own unguarded mind. Manipulators don't need to exert control if you have already relinquished your identity. When you lose your sense of self, praise becomes an addictive drug, guilt a prison, and rejection a path to destruction. You become a puppet, with strings pulled by those who have mastered the art of emotional leverage. Here lies a crucial truth. Be the mountain, not the weather. The mountain does not tremble when storms rage. It does not chase fleeting clouds or beg the sky for clarity. It simply remains steadfast, grounded and unshaken. Your identity must embody that mountain, resilient and unwavering. When you stand firm in your core values, when you understand who you are without needing applause or approval, no external force can manipulate you into someone else's mold. In Buddhist practice, self-awareness is not ego. It is awakening. A mind that remains centered does not falter. So ask yourself, are you living your truth or conforming to someone else's expectations? Whose voice resonates louder, yours or the one you've been conditioned to appease? To initiate liberation, start here. Document your boundaries, not only what you desire but what you will not tolerate. Define yourself as much by your limits as by your aspirations. Embrace moments of solitude, free from distractions, scrolling or searching. Just silence. Let truth surface. Clarify your core values. What do you stand for when there's no applause? If approval were stripped away permanently, would you still recognize yourself? Manipulation thrives on minds deprived of self-awareness. When you constantly seek validation, you hand others the leash. But when you release the need for external affirmation, their influence over you dissolves instantly. This is not detachment. It is profound wisdom. When a man asked the Buddha, "How do I remain unshaken by the world?" the Buddha replied, "Let the world shake, you remain still." This is your practice, not avoidance or defiance, but unwavering clarity. This journey transcends merely avoiding manipulators. It is about reclaiming your life. A robust identity demands less defense. You transition from reactive to proactive, from chasing to becoming. Here's your challenge. For the next 7 days, spend 10 minutes each day with yourself. No phone, no pretense, just you. Ask, who am I, without external influences. Allow your authentic answers to emerge. Ultimately, the most powerful person in any room is not the loudest. It is the one who stands immovable. A mind anchored in truth is impervious to deception. Be that mountain. Let the storms come and stay rooted. Cultivate emotional self-control. Have you ever uttered words in anger and instantly regretted them? Felt as though someone was deliberately pressing your buttons and you handed them control over your emotional state? Emotional manipulation doesn't originate with their words. It begins with your response. Once your emotional reactions become predictable, you become susceptible to control, and that's exactly where they gain leverage. Buddhism teaches us, rule your mind or it will rule you. Many fail to realize that they aren't controlled by others. They are governed by their own unexamined emotional reflexes. Manipulators don't need to outthink you. They only need to agitate your unresolved vulnerabilities, your fear of rejection, your craving for approval, your deep need to be understood. They prod, and you react. They withdraw, and you chase. They guilt-trip, and you capitulate. But what if you chose not to react? Be the silent flame, burning with warmth and light, yet steady and unflickering amidst the wind. That steady flame is emotional mastery. When you develop awareness of your emotions without being consumed by them, manipulation is rendered powerless. No one can manipulate someone who refuses to engage on their terms. Next time you feel triggered, pause. That pause is your strategic advantage. In the space between stimulus and response lies freedom. Breathe in. Breathe out. Ask yourself, is this emotion genuine or is it provoked? Are you responding to reality or to someone else's script? Your mind requires training, daily, intentional discipline akin to a warrior honing their sword. Meditation is not an escape from life, but preparation for it. Dedicate 5 to 10 minutes a day to silence, not to find peace, but to cultivate unshakable resilience. In that stillness, you learn to observe your thoughts rather than identify with them. You stop being swept away by every emotional wave and instead watch them pass like clouds across the sky. When provoked, whether by a toxic colleague, a manipulative superior, or societal pressures, you will respond with awareness, not arrogance. You'll see clearly and no longer dance to their tune or perform the role scripted for you. Here's the critical question. Do your emotions clarify your vision or cloud it? Who truly controls your life, your triggers, or your mindfulness? The answer defines whether you live in reaction or power. Emotional self-control is not suppression, it is transformation. When you master your inner landscape, external influences lose their hold. You move from reactive impulses to thoughtful responses. You become light without heat, power without noise, flame without smoke. The strongest person in the room is the one who remains still while others ignite around them. Be that person. Keep the remote control in your hands. Observe, breathe, rise. Take full command of your mind. Have you ever found yourself replaying a conversation long after it ended, analyzing every word as though your worth depended on it? Or seeking someone's approval, not because it aligned with your values, but because your mind convinced you it was necessary for survival? That is not you thinking. That is conditioning thinking for you. And it's the subtle crack through which manipulation slips in. Manipulation isn't always loud. It often whispers through thoughts that aren't even yours. The Buddha said, "What you think, you become." But what if most of your thoughts were inherited, not consciously chosen? What if your beliefs were shaped by fears passed down through generations or approval systems designed to control you? The reality is most people don't truly think. They react to implanted thoughts, guilt, fear, the need to be liked. These are not truths. They are traps. Be the archer who aims carefully. The mind is both your bow and your arrow. Left untamed, it misfires, lashing out at the wrong targets, chasing illusions and accepting falsehoods. When trained, it pierces the illusion of manipulation with quiet precision. You don't defeat manipulation by fighting it. You outgrow the environment where it thrives, the untrained, unconscious mind. Begin by identifying the invaders in your mental space. Notice the thoughts that compel you to apologize when you're not at fault. Recognize the fear that silences you in rooms where your voice should be heard. Detect the craving for approval that leads you to betray your own values. These are not just emotions. They are systems of control. Awareness is your escape route. Practice daily mental purification. This is not abstract theory. It is a practical, powerful discipline. Start each day with 10 minutes of mindfulness. Sit. Breathe. Observe your thoughts without becoming them. Record the recurring patterns in your journal and ask yourself, is this thought genuinely mine, or was it implanted by fear, rejection, or the need to belong? Strip away mental burdens that lack foundation in truth. Manipulation thrives only when your mind is not authentically yours. When you reclaim ownership of your attention, focus, and inner world, external control fragments. You cease reacting to guilt, see through emotional bait, and become unshakable. Not by becoming cold, but by gaining clarity. Reflect. What mental habits silently invite manipulation? Is it your compulsion to be needed, your aversion to conflict, your silence when injustice occurs? These are not defects, but untrained habits, and habits can be broken, replaced, and transformed. Buddhism does not advocate escape. It teaches mastery. Taking full control of your mind is not arrogance, it is liberation. Clean thoughts lead to clear decisions, and when your inner world belongs solely to you, no one else holds the pen to your life story. Here is your call to action. Reclaim your mind. Audit your thoughts. Sharpen your aim. Because the world does not need more noise. It needs clarity, self-mastery, and leaders who know where their arrow points and why. When the mind is mastered, manipulators lose their power. Train the bow, own the arrow, aim inward, watch your life align. Step 4. Recognize when stepping away is essential. Have you ever lingered in a situation your soul had already left? A relationship, a job, a friendship? Not because it nourished you, but because letting go felt like failure. What if staying is the real failure? Buddhism teaches that peace is not something you chase, but something you return to once you release what poisons you. Sometimes that requires stepping away, even if it hurts. Let go of toxic influences, not after they have destroyed you, but the moment you recognize them for what they are. Manipulation flourishes where you second-guess yourself, tolerate disrespect in the name of love, or overextend loyalty. But true strength may lie in walking away before they break you. Be like the lotus that blooms by rising above the mud. The lotus does not cling to the filth beneath. It transcends it, opening only in the light. You cannot heal where you were wounded. You owe no one your continued suffering to appear loyal. Recognize toxic energy early. Do not rationalize it or treat it as a project to fix. Your intuition is your compass. Listen when it signals, "This is draining me." You don't need dramatic exits. Sometimes, silence is the most powerful boundary. Leave without anger or defense. When respect is absent, explanation becomes begging. Ask yourself, are you holding on to pain out of habit or healing? Many remain in chaos because peace feels unfamiliar, having mistaken guilt for love. But real love never manipulates, diminishes, or exhausts. Genuine connection honors your voice and growth instead of suppressing it. Often, the hardest part is releasing the version of yourself that tolerated the intolerable. A survival mechanism, not your truth. Now it is time to bloom beyond it. Prioritize environments that support your healing and don't drain your spirit to keep you compliant. Your peace is sacred, not selfish. When you stop defending your right to it, transformation begins. Reflect. What are you afraid to leave behind, and why? What narrative binds you? The belief that you are not enough alone, that starting over equals failure, or that their approval justifies your erosion? These are chains, not truths. The Buddha said, you only lose what you cling to. Sometimes, the path to inner freedom starts with stepping back, not forward. So step back, step out, step away. You don't need closure from chaos, just distance. Be the lotus. Let the mud fall away. Rise and bloom where peace can find you. Think strategically, not emotionally. Have you ever said yes to avoid guilt, only to regret it later in silence? Or lashed out in anger, only to feel like you relinquished your power? In a world that constantly tugs at your emotions, the surest path to control is through reactive behavior. When you react impulsively, you reveal your vulnerabilities, your code. But when you pause, observe, and respond with intention, you become unreadable, and thus unshakable. Buddhism teaches us that to understand is to forgive, but not to tolerate. Forgiveness cleanses the heart, strategy safeguards it. Manipulators do not confront your strengths directly. They exploit your blind spots. They press buttons, not because they are clever, but because they have studied what triggers you. The critical question is, are you a pawn in their game, or the strategic player with foresight? Be the chess player, not the pawn. The pawn moves emotionally, reacting only to the immediate moment. The master sees 10 moves ahead, recognizing patterns rather than isolated incidents. Once you grasp someone's recurring behavior, you no longer need to argue. You simply outgrow it. Begin by analyzing the cycle. Does this person repeat the same narrative? Kindness, control, chaos, apology, and then repeat. Do they reach out only when they need something? Are they weaponizing guilt to keep you confined? These are not coincidences. They are rehearsed tactics. Every playbook has a counter strategy. When you feel emotionally triggered, do not respond immediately. Pause. Breathe. Redirect your energy inward. Ask yourself, am I reacting from emotion or acting from awareness? Emotion surrenders your power. Strategy reclaims it. This is not about coldness, but clarity. Plan your responses like a silent chess match. Consider the cost of each move. Reflect on what your actions teach others about how you expect to be treated. What energy does your reply reinforce? The objective is not to defeat them, but to regain your inner calm. The Buddha did not advise suppressing emotions, but rather observing them without becoming them. Feelings are real, yet they are visitors, not facts. If you live reacting to every emotional visitor, you will perpetually play someone else's game. Take back your power, not with noise, but with strategy. Do not reveal your moves. Let them wonder how you remain so composed while they attempt to provoke you. Allow them to exhaust themselves, trying to control what they no longer understand. Who is directing the board, your strategy, or their manipulation? When you think long-term and recognize that not every emotion deserves attention, you become untouchable, not by hiding but by seeing clearly. When emotion clouds the mind, the pawn falls. When clarity returns, the master rises. Be the master. Watch the board. Never forget, silence, strategy, and self-awareness are the most powerful moves you will ever make. Reclaim the power of silence. Have you ever witnessed someone unravel simply because you chose not to respond? Silence is powerful because it unsettles those who rely on your reaction to validate their control. Most people speak to be heard, but the wise remain silent to observe. This is where your true power begins, not in louder words, but in quieter understanding. Buddhism reminds us, silence is the sleep that nourishes wisdom. In a noisy world, stillness is not just rare, it is revolutionary. Be like a still lake, reflecting but not absorbing. The lake does not chase clouds. It watches them pass and returns to calm. This is the silence you must claim, not passive or suppressed, but deeply present. Manipulators thrive on noise because it feeds their need for reaction. When you respond with stillness and deny them emotional fuel, they are left facing their own reflection, often more disturbing than anything you could say. Practice the art of non-response, not to evade conflict, but to reclaim your space. When someone throws bait, let it fall. Watch their mask slip. When your silence holds up a mirror, true manipulation loses its grip. Stop performing the role they expect, the defensive reply, the chase for closure, the fight to be understood. What if your answer was silence, and your reward was peace? Ask yourself, are you using silence to reflect or to avoid truth? There is a difference. True silence is conscious. It is the pause between thought and reaction, the breath between stimulus and response. It creates space to see clearly. It is not hiding. It is holding your power, your truth, your clarity. When confronted with guilt, accusations, or emotional bait, pause and ask, is this worth my peace? Is this truth or manipulation masquerading as concern? Then choose stillness. Silence is not absence, it is presence without panic. It is the voice that says, I do not owe you my energy just because you are loud. Speak only when you have returned to your center, when your words emerge from clarity, not compulsion. Words spoken from urgency leave scars. Words spoken from calm heal, lead, and land with truth. What if your silence could speak louder than their noise? It already does. Every time you refuse to justify yourself to someone who never listens. Every time you walk away, rather than argue to be right. Every time you let someone else's storm pass without being pulled in. Let your silence say, you do not control me. You do not define me. You do not disturb me. Ultimately, the stillest waters hold the greatest depth, and when you embody that stillness, manipulation loses its reach. The individual who masters silence masters their reality. Be like the lake. Reflect clearly, hold steady, and allow the world to reveal itself while you remain unmoved. Detach from outcome and control. Have you noticed how power subtly shifts the moment you stop needing something from someone? This is the secret manipulators don't want you to discover. Their influence thrives only when you crave something they can grant, or threaten to withdraw: approval, love, closure, status. But what if you no longer needed any of it? What if you became like the cloud, free to move, untouched by grasping hands, drifting with peace instead of pressure? Buddhism teaches that attachment is the root of suffering and also the root of manipulation. Society conditions us to chase outcomes, investing heavily in relationships, careers, and people with the expectation of reciprocation. The moment your peace hinges on an outcome, you surrender control. When someone knows you fear rejection, They weaponize silence. When they sense you need validation, they offer it with strings attached. This is how people become puppets, without ever seeing the strings. You are manipulated not by force, but by your own need. Consider this. Would manipulators still hold power if you desired nothing from them? True freedom is not merely walking away. It is emotional detachment, releasing the need for a reaction, explanation, or resolution. When you relinquish the need to be liked, you begin to speak your truth. When you stop craving their understanding, your authenticity flows effortlessly. Detachment is not indifference. It is clarity. You stop playing a rigged game and start forging your own path. Ask yourself, are you free from needing their reaction or addicted to it? Likes, replies, and validation are addictive. An addiction is the easiest state to manipulate. One compliment can make your day. One insult can shatter your peace. But the cloud does not wait for the sky's permission to move. It neither clings to the storm nor pleads for sunlight. It simply drifts with grace and freedom from attachment. Practice doing without expecting return. Give without clinging. Speak without seeking praise. Love without demanding reciprocity. This is where true strength lies. When nothing external defines you, no one can leverage those factors against you. Rejection loses its sting. Approval loses its grip. Manipulators lose their weapons. Every time you pause and choose peace over the need to be right, you detach. Every time you give your best and release the outcome, you rise. Not above others, but above illusion. The illusion that acceptance determines your worth, that someone else's reaction defines your truth. Let it all go. You cannot control how others perceive you, but you can stop needing them to perceive you a certain way. And that is where real power lives, in the freedom to move like the cloud, light, clear, and untouched. So the next time someone tries to bait you with guilt or withhold to provoke a chase, ask yourself, is this cloud meant to remain stagnant or to drift into peace? The moment you release control, you reclaim yourself. Master the art of non-reaction. There's a story of a monk who was insulted silently for hours. When the accuser finally demanded, "Why won't you react?" The monk replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you don't accept it, to whom does it belong?" This exemplifies the power of non-reaction. To master your life, first master the space between stimulus and response. In that space lies your freedom. Manipulators don't need physical chains. They use your reactions as control mechanisms. If they can trigger your emotional responses, they own your peace. But what if you became like bamboo, flexible under pressure but never broken? In today's world, instant emotion is rewarded, rage gains likes, reaction attracts attention. But this also traps you in transient anger. This cycle prevents true wisdom and fosters predictability. Manipulators exploit this predictability. They know precisely which words to deploy, which silences to maintain, and which expressions to wear to pull you into their storm. When you respond without reflection, you hand them the thermostat to your emotional climate. Here's the truth. Reacting is a powerful gift. Don't give it away freely. Reflect on this. Are your reactions empowering you, or are they handing control to others? Every time you erupt, defend, or chase, you signal that your center lies outside yourself. Once someone recognizes this, they can manipulate your world at will. But the bamboo doesn't resist the wind. It sways gracefully, moves with the moment, yet never loses its core. It absorbs the pressure but remains firmly rooted in peace. Delaying your response is not a sign of weakness. It is a hallmark of mastery. When emotions surge, breathe deeply, don't bite. Let provocations pass like vehicles on a busy highway. You don't chase every honking car, so why pursue every insult, manipulation, or volatile mood thrown your way? Allow them to fade away in the silence of your stillness. This is not passivity, it is intentionality, choosing to act with clarity rather than compulsion. Strategic silence disarms manipulators by revealing their lack of control over you. When you don't flinch, rush to justify, or react hastily, they unravel. Their power was never inherent. It stemmed from your untrained responses. Ask yourself, what if you could observe everything without absorbing any of it? What if you became the detached watcher of emotion rather than its prisoner? Practice pausing. Even a few seconds of stillness can transform your life. Before replying to that message, before countering a comment, before explaining yourself to someone who has already decided not to understand, pause. Return to your breath. Return to your wisdom. Not every sound demands an echo. Not every situation warrants your energy. When you cease reacting, you begin to see, and in that vision lie peace, power, and clarity. Like bamboo, you bend with life's storms, but never break. Because you no longer squander your reactions like loose change. You spend them with precision. Your peace is your power. Protect it by mastering the pause. Understand the nature of illusion. A mask can smile, cry, plead, or flatter, but it remains a mask. The manipulator's greatest weapon is not raw power. It is illusion. They don't force you to believe. They entice you to deceive yourself. Once you accept the roles they assign, the helpless victim, the flawless hero, the misunderstood soul, you become an actor in their performance. All suffering begins with mistaken perception. If you cannot see through the illusion, you become part of it. Buddhism teaches us to be the mirror, not the mask. The mirror reflects reality without attachment, distortion, or need. It reveals what is, no more, no less. Every manipulator thrives on projection. They present their wounds wrapped in compliments or guilt. They don't reveal truth. They present a script. When you react blindly, you step onto their stage unawares, assuming roles, the rescuer, the attacker, the pleaser, perpetuating the drama. But what if you paused, held up the mirror, and recognized it for the performance it is? Are you responding to truth or to a fabricated illusion? Most people never ask this question. They see tears and assume innocence. They hear anger and assume authority. Manipulation rarely wears a villain's mask. Often it disguises itself as need, charm, desperation, affection, or crisis. It's all theater, unless you learn to see clearly. The Buddhist path is not about suspicion, but awareness. Not cold detachment, but calm discernment. When someone approaches you with urgency, emotion, or flattery, pause. Ask, what role are they casting me in? What do they want me to believe? Not all suffering is manipulation, but all manipulation wears the mask of suffering. If you mistake their chaos for your responsibility, you risk drowning trying to save someone who built their own ship to sink. Develop inner vision, the eye that sees beyond appearances. This requires knowing your triggers, your needs to be loved, to be good, to be needed, to be right. Manipulators don't manipulate by force. They manipulate your story. They mirror what you long to see or what you fear is true. But the mirror, the real mirror, does not react to illusions. It simply reflects. Practice holding space. Listen without absorbing. Watch without engaging. If someone's words evoke confusion, pressure, or guilt, ask yourself, is this real, or just a role designed to manipulate my movement? If a truth requires constant convincing, it likely isn't genuine. If it falters under your calm silence, it was never real strength. You do not need to fight illusions. You simply need to see them clearly. When the light of awareness penetrates the mask, the performance ends, and you return to your authentic self, clear, whole, and free. Let others continue playing their roles. You remain anchored in truth. Be the mirror that reflects, not the mask that reacts. Strengthen your inner refuge. In the heart of the storm, the temple remains unshaken. Winds may rage and rain may pour, but within, the temple stands firm, a sanctuary of peace, impervious to external chaos. The same principle applies to you. When your peace is deeply anchored within, no external force, no manipulator, no emotional upheaval, no validation can uproot it. Peace emerges from within. Do not seek it externally. This profound yet simple truth is the cornerstone of immunity to manipulation. When your mind becomes a sanctuary, protected from the turbulence outside, no one can sway, stir, or control you. It's not about mastering the storm, but recognizing that you are the temple, harboring a peace that does not bend with the wind. To cultivate this inner refuge, establish daily practices that center you: meditation, silence, and sacred routines. Every moment of quiet reflection builds another brick in the foundation of your inner sanctuary. Each breath during meditation deepens your anchoring in the calm that defines your true nature. Consider, what rituals restored your center daily? Is it a peaceful morning walk, a moment of stillness before sleep, or simply mindful breathing in the present moment? These practices are not luxuries. They are essentials for safeguarding your peace. As you nurture this inner refuge, external chaos loses its power. Manipulation flourishes where peace is fragile, where approval and validation are sought externally. But when your sense of self is rooted in unshakable peace, no external pressure can make you yield. This does not imply invulnerability to challenges or conflict, but rather resilience in your response. Your inner peace becomes your shield and stronghold, enabling you to stand firm, unshaken by whatever life presents. When manipulators test your peace, pushing buttons, creating turmoil, attempting to control your reactions, your non-negotiable peace renders their efforts futile. You do not react, you observe. You need not engage with the storm or prove yourself. Your peace belongs to you, and no one can take it without your permission. The more you cultivate your inner sanctuary, the smaller the foothold manipulators have. They cannot exploit your fears, insecurities, or validation needs when you possess intrinsic worth, independent of them. Reflect. Is your peace guarded or open to external winds? You hold the power of choice. The world will continue to spin, and storms will arise. But your inner peace can remain untouched. You are the temple. You are the refuge. When your peace is non-negotiable, manipulation loses its power over you. Recognize and walk away from power games. A fire does not waste energy arguing with the rope that binds it. It simply burns through. In life, power games often ensnare us in struggle, fighting to unravel knots or resist manipulation. True power, however, resides not in engagement, but in walking away. The wise release attachment to outcomes, whether favorable or adverse. Once you recognize these power struggles as unworthy of your energy, you cease participation. You stop trying to win a game designed solely to drain you. Instead, you choose peace over conflict, clarity over confusion. Whenever manipulation, control, or drama arises, remember, you do not need to play the game. Manipulators seek your reaction, your defense, your justification to prove something. But the strongest response is no response. The truth, when lived authentically, requires no correction, no force, and no defense. Walk confidently in such truth that falsehoods and manipulations expose themselves naturally. You don't need to counter every distortion or false statement. Instead, let your own clarity illuminate the path so brightly that the shadows of manipulation cannot survive in your presence. The more you embody authenticity, the less power manipulation holds over you. Lies crumble when confronted with unwavering truth. Protect your time, energy, and peace. Power games are time traps. Each minute invested in conflict is a minute diverted from your personal growth, peace, and purpose. Ask yourself, are you still attempting to win a game designed never to be won? What are you trying to prove, and to whom? Engaging in these battles often means proving your worth to those who do not value your authentic self. Release the need for external validation. Release the desire to win others' approval. This is your life and your journey. No external perception defines your value. Just as fire effortlessly consumes the rope that binds it without argument or struggle, you do not need to expend energy proving anything to others. By choosing to disengage from power games, you reclaim control of your life, moving forward with intention, clarity, and peace. When you step away from these struggles, you create space for what truly matters. Each time you disengage, you reclaim your energy and your peace. You are no longer a pawn in someone else's game. You become the master of your own destiny, free to choose battles that truly align with your purpose. The greatest victory is the one where you cease fighting and begin living with authenticity, clarity, and peace. Reflect. What are you still trying to prove, and why? The only truth you need to affirm is your own worth to yourself. Bonus lesson. Live aligned, not approved. Imagine a compass, steady, unwavering. Its needle always pointing true north, regardless of how fiercely the winds blow. Now imagine a weather vane, spinning and swaying with every breeze, its direction dictated by external forces. You are the compass. When you live aligned with your inner truth and purpose, nothing and no one can manipulate you. But when you live seeking approval, bending with every shift in external opinion, you become the weather vane, perpetually swayed by others' whims. Your mission is to discover your truth and dedicate yourself wholeheartedly to it. This principle reminds us that true power stems from living authentically, following a path shaped by your values, not others' expectations or approval. When you stop seeking validation externally, you sever vulnerability to manipulation. Your value no longer depends on applause or acceptance. You cease molding yourself to fit into shapes that do not serve you. You are free to live in alignment with your truth. Living aligned does not mean living without challenges. In fact, walking your true path often invites misunderstanding, questioning, and resistance. Others may challenge your beliefs or pressure you to conform. But in these moments, resist explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. Their judgments reflect their struggles, not your truth. By refusing to fit into others' perceptions, you reclaim your power. You become the unwavering compass, steady in your direction no matter how the world spins around you. The more aligned you are with your purpose, the less control manipulators have over you. Manipulation thrives on uncertainty, on those unsure of their worth, constantly chasing approval. When you are aligned, confident, and grounded, you become unshakable and immune to external influence. The less you seek validation, the less vulnerable you become to manipulation. Ask yourself, are you pursuing truth or applause? Are you living according to others' expectations or aligned with your own beliefs and desires? This question is pivotal. It delineates those who are manipulated from those who live authentically and freely. The path of alignment requires courage, the courage to advance even when no one applauds. Yet the reward far exceeds any fleeting external approval. Would you continue on your path if no one clapped? Could you embrace peace, fulfillment, and authenticity without needing external validation? Would you choose this over others' approval? When you cease seeking approval, you stop being manipulated. You become the compass of your own life, anchored in truth, unaffected by the distractions of others' opinions. This is the ultimate liberation. Build a strong identity. Knowing who you are makes you indefinable by others. A strong identity repels manipulation by not seeking approval. Define your values and live them unapologetically. A clear sense of self is your greatest armor. Practice emotional self-control. Manipulators exploit emotional reactions. Pause before responding. Observe your feelings and master your state. Inner calm is your power. Control it before someone else does. Mindfulness cultivates unshakable emotional strength. Take full control of your mind. A wandering mind is vulnerable. Train your thoughts to serve your truth, not others' agendas. Be mentally intentional, not reactive. Awareness transforms your mind from battlefield to sanctuary. Sometimes stepping away is necessary. Not every battle warrants your energy. Walking away demonstrates wisdom, not weakness. Release people and situations that poison your peace. Freedom often begins with goodbye. Think strategically, not emotionally. Emotions can be exploited. Strategy cannot. Respond with clarity, not instinct. Study behavioral patterns, protect your energy, and act intentionally. Be mindful. Never become a pawn in someone else's game. Reclaim the power of silence. Silence disorients manipulators and empowers you. When you do not react, your vision sharpens. Listen more, speak less. You'll understand far more. True power resides in restraint. Detach from outcome and control. Neediness invites manipulation. When you let go of attachment, you reclaim control. Live with intention, not expectation. Inner peace is born of detachment, not domination. Master the art of non-reaction. The capacity to withhold reaction grants ultimate control. Allow others to reveal themselves while you remain still. In your silence, manipulators unravel. Observe without absorbing. Understand the nature of illusion. Manipulation often masks itself in false appearances. Learn to see beyond the mask to the truth beneath. Discern illusion from authenticity to avoid traps of charm and deception. Strengthen your inner refuge. Peace that originates within is impervious to external disturbances. Build daily practices that nurture inner calm. A still mind is a fortress no one can penetrate without invitation. Recognize and walk away from power games. Manipulators use games to drain your time and energy. The wisest move is often to disengage. Don't compete. Exit. Refuse to engage in drama or control tactics. True power resides in disengagement from nonsense. Live aligned, not approved. Do not trade your authenticity for external validation. Stay committed to your path, even when others disapprove. Real freedom emerges when you release the need for approval. Your alignment holds far greater value than any applause. In a world that constantly pulls you in opposing directions, your greatest act of rebellion is to know yourself deeply and live authentically in alignment with your truth. Manipulation only succeeds when you forget your own inherent power. These principles are more than mere defenses. They form the foundation of a liberated mind. When you choose peace over pleasing, clarity over confusion, and purpose over approval, you stop being used and begin truly living. True control is not about dominating others. It is mastery over yourself. The individual who owns their thoughts, emotions, and boundaries is unshakable. Life becomes peaceful, not because others change, but because you no longer depend on them. Self-possession is the path to freedom. Zen teaches us that stillness is the highest form of strength. You need not raise your voice or prove your point when you are deeply rooted in your center. The deeper you go within, the less you can be shaken by external forces. Peace is not passive. It is potent. It is the calm eye within the storm of manipulation. Ask yourself, am I truly living or merely reacting? If life feels out of control, it is time to pause, detach, and return to your own rhythm. You're not here to be used, twisted, or diminished. You are here to awaken, to rise in silence, power, and unshakable presence. When you release who you are not, you return to the truth of who you are. Take control of your life. Protect your peace. Lead from within. If this message resonated with you, please like this video. Share it with someone who may benefit. Comment below with your reflections, and subscribe to Insightful Journey for more insightful Buddhist guidance on living a peaceful, empowered life.